just bring us up to speed on the case, on the issue of Dr. Aafia Siddiqui and why she's currently languishing in a prison in Texas.
They ended up abducting her on March the 30th, 2003.
Is it a Pakistani authority?
Well, the Pakistani authorities did it for the Americans. The Pakistan government paid $2 million to these lawyers to represent her.
Oh, okay.
These people are not going to do what Aafia wanted, which is tell the truth. You know, these people are guilty of abducting her, abducting the children, selling them to the Americans, then trying to murder them. Their crimes are endless. The establishment in Pakistan and the CIA have lied about this for 20 years. General Musharraf was teetering at the end of his time in office. If she had shown up in Pakistan with the whole story about her torture and the children and everything, that really would have been the end of his government.
What's the next step?
If there was a justice system in reality, and they'd be under indictment.
Clive Stafford Smith, welcome back to The Thinking Muslim. I'm grateful to have you with us today.
Look, it's always a great pleasure. And honestly, I had to come to get another Thinking Muslim cup because Fatima, who works with me, really wants another one. So, you know, I'm only here for one reason, let's face it.
Great. Well, no, we've got a mug for you, Clive. I mean, I'm really happy that you've joined us. You've just returned from a very long trip to Afghanistan. I think your flight came back yesterday night, was it?
Yeah, I got back last night.
I think I caught you mid-flight or at least early.
Something like that. And, you know, look, I was very grateful. I left Kabul really only about 4 or 5 hours before Pakistan started bombing the city. So I don't know, I've been attracting these people. When I was in Pakistan last time was when the Indians started attacking. So I'm just going to stay in Dorset for a bit where I hope no one's going to start firing missiles at us.
Right, okay. Well, hopefully not. I mean, you've just returned from Kabul, and you know, the context, of course, always when I have you on my show, I would like to talk to you about other things, but it's really Aafia Siddiqui, Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, and her case.
Yeah, I was there mostly for her, but also some of the Guantanamo guys. You know, I'm fairly confident we'll have Mohammed Rahim, the last Afghan, out in the next few days.
Great.
Which is fabulous, so that's good.
Afghanistan, I mean, before we get to Dr. Aafia, actually, you know, how did you leave Kabul? I know the Pakistan thing, but before then, like, how did you leave Kabul?
Well, I mean, I've got to say, I've always been...
Did you have internet? I mean, could you communicate with the world?
There were 2 days when they turned the internet off.
Yeah.
And I was later, I couldn't do anything. You didn't have phones either. They really made life quite difficult. But I got a lot of work done. But I read the Western media later about all the fantasies that they had about why it was, and the Taliban were trying to stop Western vice from seeping in and all that stuff. But it just wasn't. It was because they were having a new internet server and they were trying to sort it out. They've got 1 or 2 weird ideas about the internet, but it wasn't what the West says. And so much of what I see there is not as the West says.
Really?
You know, I should say first, I really don't agree with some of the policies towards women, fundamentally not. But then, so no, that's true of 80% of the Afghan people, including a lot of their government. I've talked to government people who say, I've got daughters, I want my daughter to have an education. So that's obviously an issue, but it's an issue that the West stands on the touchline screaming about, in a way that's actually very counterproductive for the rights of women. It just enforces, you know, it reinforces the sort of conservatives in Kandahar because it's the West telling them what to do. We've got to do something about that in a more positive way, but the reality is that every government's first duty is to make the country safe.
Yeah.
And if we can just stop the Pakistanis from bombing them, Afghanistan is the safest place I go to. I was given some security people by the Afghans the first time I went there, and these big guys with turbans and AK-47s. I said, look, you're really wasting your time. I really appreciate it. I'm going to Texas next week. That's where I need you. It's not here. And it truly, truly is safe everywhere I go. And that's fabulous after 45 years of war.
Right. Okay. Well, we're here to talk about the really unfortunate case of Dr. Aafia Siddiqui. I know her sister Fauzia was here. I missed her. Unfortunately, I was abroad. But I know she's been amazing in fighting the cause of.
She is amazing generally, Fauzia.
Yeah. So you were in Afghanistan to partly to investigate and continue to investigate the case of Aafia Siddiqui. For those of our viewers who have not watched the previous two shows, and I really ask our viewers to do so, just bring us up to speed on the case, on the issue of Dr. Aafia Siddiqui and why she's currently languishing in a prison in Texas.
So a little background. The US got it into their minds back right after 9/11. Obviously, there were thousands, 15,000 Muslims taken in after 9/11, and there was all sorts of Islamophobia. I was there. I remember it.
Yeah.
And Aafia was caught up in that, and gradually the US assembled stuff about her, pretty much all of which turned out to be false. And so very briefly, we'll go back and discuss that in a bit, but they then decided she was a leader of Al-Qaeda, which, you might just say to them, hey, there weren't any women leading Al-Qaeda as a fundamentally chauvinist organization. But they ended up abducting her on March the 30th, 2003.
Is it a Pakistani authority?
Well, the Pakistani authorities did it for the Americans.
Right.
You will have read in General Musharraf's book at page 234 how he boasted that hundreds of people were sold to the Americans for bounties. Aafia was one of them. And the unique thing about her was, first, she was a woman. There were very few women involved in this, but the really bad bit was they abducted her 3 children. And you had Ahmed, age 6, Mariam, age 4, and little Suleiman, 6 months old. And so Ahmed was taken and put in a prison in Afghanistan. They said his name was Ihsan Ali, and if he ever said he was Ahmed, they'd kill him. He was there for 5 years. Mariam was forcibly adopted into a white Christian American family for 7 years. And then Suleiman, we don't know exactly what happened. Originally, I thought that he had been dropped on his head and killed, but the only source for that is actually 6-year-old Ahmed looking out of the back window of the car he was in and relating this 5 years later, and that's not terribly reliable. So we just don't know whether he's alive or not to this day. And then Aafia was taken to Bagram Air Force Base. We can now prove that. And you've got to remember that the establishment in Pakistan and the CIA have lied about this for 20 years. But she was taken there. I've got lots of witnesses who say she was taken to the Bagram prison. She was in the isolation unit for a bit. Lots of people saw her there and have given me statements. She was then taken to what's called the discotheque, which was an underground black site in Bagram, and she was held there for quite a while. Then she was taken to another prison in or around Kabul, which I haven't located yet, where she was raped a number of times. And this went on for 5 years. And this poor woman, throughout all of that, was worried about her children. And actually, when she was in Bagram, she related to me the first time I saw her that they had some children behind a one-way glass, and they were purporting to torture them and say they were her kids. And then you imagine as a parent, I certainly can, I'm sure everyone can. What do you do? Aafia told me that she'd tell them whatever they wanted to hear, make up whatever they want, but they just carried on. And she said to me that she agonized over this, and she finally decided the best way to stop it was to pretend she didn't care. Now, can you imagine being in that position? So
these were Americans.
Americans doing that, yeah. And it wasn't her kids, but she thought it was. Then they showed her pictures of both of her boys dead in blood. Now, we know those were falsified because Ahmed later showed up alive. And then it came time when they figured out she was really nobody, and this happened so many times over the last 20 years. So they want to get rid of her. And the Americans would have just got rid of her. They didn't care. Unfortunately, this was in mid-2008, and General Musharraf was teetering at the end of his time in office. And if she had shown up in Pakistan with the whole story about her torture and the children and everything, that really would have been the end of his government. So they came up, and this, according to all my witnesses who take an opinion on this, say this is an ISI operation where they came up with a disposal operation to get rid of her. And the idea was they sent her to a place called Ghazni, 150k southwest of Kabul, and said, if you go there, you can have your daughter back. She goes there. In the bus with her is her son, but neither of them are sure who they are because of all that they've been through. But her son is dressed up as a suicide bomber. They've called in a suicide bomb attack. And she's sitting outside this mosque, and the Afghan National Police are going to come up with their AK-47s. They're not going to ask questions. They're going to just shoot her. The only reason that doesn't happen, as we discussed last time, is I found this guy, Mohammadi, who was able to talk to her because he spoke Urdu, and he was talking to her when the police show up. And he stands between her and the guns, saves her life. She's then taken to the ANP headquarters. They're just going to let her go because they can't see she's done anything wrong. The Americans then swoop in because they learn that she's been taken. And this is where the stories differ. The Americans say that they don't say they bribed the national police, but that's what they did, to go see her. And they say they go into the room. One of them puts his machine gun down, as one does in a war zone. Aafia reaches under the curtain, flips off the safety catch. I'm sure you know where the M4 machine gun safety catch is, and starts shooting. They say there are 2 holes up in the wall. And so then this soldier bravely shoots her in the stomach. That's not what happened. What happened is what Aafia says. She says she hears American voices, thinks, oh my goodness, I'm going to be taken back for more torture. And she peeks around the curtain, and this soldier says she's on the loose and shoots her, and then they make the other story up. And the reason we know that's true is that the 2 holes in the wall that they say she fired bullets into, there's a video that we now have that shows from earlier that day, those 2 holes in the wall before all of this happened. And there were no shells from the M4, it just didn't happen. So she's then shot, she comes close to death. She's patched up. She's taken to New York, put on trial slightly less than a mile from ground zero. And she's convicted and given. You know, I had my lovely students this summer go through every attempted murder case in the last 41 years in America. And Aafia was given the 2nd longest sentence of anyone in America federally, of 86 years. There's one guy who got longer, who tried to kill 5 police officers and had a long criminal record. And he actually shot one of the police, and he wasn't the one who was shot. So that's the story. Now,
and what was the conviction? Like, was it terrorism?
The conviction was just for attempted murder, okay. But then they plug in all this terrorism stuff, and she's taken to this place, FMC Carswell. And, you know, that's how I really got into this. Her sister, Fauzia, asked me to go see her. Couldn't really say no, so I went. And, oh, gosh, FMC Carswell. You know, honestly, I've been to pretty much every death row in America. I've been to Guantanamo 42 times. Carswell is the worst.
Really?
She complained to me that she'd been raped a number of times there. I didn't know really whether that's credible to begin with. I look into it. I discover it's got the worst sexual assault rate of any prison in the country. 13 people have been convicted of rape, 13 employees, including the Christian minister. And you know, she's in this awful place. She's been in solitary confinement effectively for the entire time. She's been treated worse even than the women on death row there. She's been treated worse than any woman in federal custody. It's just awful, awful, awful. And they just don't believe her when she says, I'm worried about my children being tortured. They think she's making that up. the whole thing's just awful.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is your brother Mazen Mukhtar, the CEO of Baytul Mal. Today I'm asking for your attention and your compassion for the people of Sudan. For years, Sudan has been torn apart by a violent conflict. Entire communities have been uprooted. More than 10 million people have been forced from their homes, and nearly 4 million have fled across borders in search of safety. Behind these numbers are mothers and fathers struggling to feed their children, and children who are growing up in the shadow of war. Families are surviving on almost nothing. No food, no clean water, no health care, and little hope for tomorrow. Our teams and partners are working every day to deliver food, water, shelter kits, medical aid, and more, both to displaced families in Sudan and refugees in nearing countries like Uganda. But the need is overwhelming. Without urgent action, this crisis will only deepen. You can help. Your donation today can provide life-saving aid, nutrition for a child, medical care for a mother, safety and dignity for a family who has lost everything. Together, we can bring relief, hope, and humanity back to Sudan. Turn your compassion into hope.
Visit btml.us/thinkingmuslim to learn more and give.
Thank you for giving us the background. So you were brought on the case in order to in effect get clemency for her. And I think the last time we spoke, it was before Biden left the White House, and there was some hope that maybe there would be a prisoner deal, and in exchange for Aafia to go to a third country, the Pakistanis would release a particular individual. That obviously didn't happen. Just tell me why that didn't happen.
So I spent a month in Washington traipsing around trying to talk them into it. I think it really didn't happen because Aafia wasn't a family member of Joe Biden. I mean, pretty much everyone who was related to him got clemency.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they just didn't do it. And he waited until 11:45 a.m. on January the 20th. 15 minutes before he was out of office, probably his last act in office, to send me a letter to the wrong address denying clemency. It was just really pathetic and very sad.
Yeah.
But, I've never got clemency for anyone, frankly, so I'm not really surprised. But that just means we got to go the other route, which is get the court to do it.
Right, okay. So when you say get the court to do it, is there a pending case?
Yeah.
Right.
Because then, so I've now, since I was roped into this by Fauzi, which I'm really glad because it's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Even though, my goodness, it's a lot of work.
You do this pro bono. You don't get paid for it.
No, I don't get paid. I've never been paid by anyone.
Yeah.
We do it for charity because I'm what we call an OPWM.
What's that?
That's an old privileged white male.
Ah.
And if I don't do that, my mother will strike me dead from heaven. Yeah. So anyway, so I've spent a lot of time digging up, and there's some great, interesting new stuff. Can I tell you some of it?
Yes, please do, yeah.
So over the time since I last saw you, first we've got an ISI agent telling us what happened. Mm-hmm. This is what really annoys the establishment in Pakistan, because one of their own has given me a sworn affidavit and going public. Really? And he's a teeny bit mad because I think they're going to try and kill him, frankly, but he wants to do this as the right thing to do. Right. I've got a secretly recorded one of the people who actually abducted her in the first place.
Wow.
There's another of the people who abducted her in the first place who tells the story of how this American woman agent slapped Aafia. So we got absolute proof of her being abducted, which people have tried to deny for 22 years. Mm. We've got 2 American agents, one CIA and another intelligence officer, who's told us about what they believed about her. It's just extraordinary. Let me pretend you're a secret agent, right, with the CIA. Yeah. And you tell me what's true and what's false. So they say she had a green card as an American, so she could go in and out of America. Is that true or false?
Oh, I don't know. Wasn't she a citizen? Wasn't she?
Oh, you're even worse.
I'm
You're worse
terrible.
than
No,
the CIA.
yeah.
No, she wasn't a citizen. She
Okay.
didn't have a green card.
Oh, she didn't have a green
No,
card. Okay.
she had a PhD from MIT.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It wasn't MIT, was it? It was another university.
Yeah, we got the few. You almost said yes.
Nearly, yes, right.
And they said MIT, it was Brandeis. And they
Yes.
said MIT is a university that only does maths and physics. Is that true?
No, it's not true.
No, of course it's not true. And that she therefore knew how to build a nuclear bomb. Do you know how to build a nuclear bomb?
No.
What
But
sort
if I
of-
did, I wouldn't say. But no, I don't.
No, you probably shouldn't. There's prevent will
But
be.
she doesn't have a nuclear physics.
No,
physics
she was.
background.
They keep saying she's a scientist. No, she's not. She's an educationalist. Her
Right.
PhD is a lengthy thing about education. And they said because of this, she was the object of a conspiracy between Al Qaeda and which other terrorist group was working?
Taliban, is it? Or
No.
the
No, it's FARC. Now, do you
FARC? Really? The Colombian, is it?
Colombian revolutionaries? Where do they get this from? I'll tell you
Really?
where they get it from.
Yeah.
At the time, there was a big battle with who was getting money, right? Right now in America, in America right now, it's ICE is getting all the money, right?
Yes.
So they're taking all the money from the FBI and from the DEA and ATF and people.
Yeah.
Back after 9/11, suddenly the war on drugs was put on the back burner, and the war on terror, or as Borat calls it, the war of terror, was the big thing. So suddenly the money's all going to the CIA and the FBI. The DEA, desperate to get in on the act, was trying to turn it into drugs. So they said first that Al-Qaeda was making their money off heroin in Afghanistan. And then somehow, it must have come from them, this stuff about Colombia. It's so stupid, it's not true. And so this was what they thought Aafia was up to. It's utter nonsense.
Really?
And so we got this American agent to tell us that. And then there's this other stuff that in 2002, around about March or April, the FBI comes to Aafia's apartment with her horrendous ex-husband, Amjad Khan. We got all this evidence about him abusing her and the scar from him throwing a baby bottle at her. But the FBI shows up and he's been buying all this sort of night vision goggles and bulletproof vests and stuff.
Yeah.
And he says it's because he's a hunter. I'm astounded he wasn't arrested on the spot. So they go there once. They come back again when he gets a $70,000 check from Saudi Arabia. You know, Saudi Arabia, almost all of the 9/11 conspirators were from there.
Yeah.
Again, he says, well, I'm just doing it for a friend.
Yeah.
They don't do anything about that. They come back a third time and say, have you been giving money to these Islamic organizations? So it's amazing Amjad wasn't arrested. But both he and Aafia were then on much closer watch lists. So they both go back to Pakistan, where Amjad gets into an argument with Aafia's dad, pushes him, he falls and has a heart attack, and the family ascribes his sad death to that. So there's a rather bitter divorce. And this is when the suspicion comes on Amjad and Aafia. And they're both
Suspicion from whom?
from the US.
From the US.
They're getting all their
Intelligence from the
intelli-
Pakistanis?
No, the Pakistanis are doing a bit of that, but actually the Americans are perfectly capable of getting everything wrong themselves.
Really?
They come up with this theory about blood diamonds. They got someone who says that Aafia was dealing with blood diamonds in Liberia and it's in 2001. It's actually on a day that we can prove she was in hospital in Boston having a scan. And interestingly, the FBI had debunked all of that, but the CIA was still repeating it. So all of this stuff comes up. And then what happens, and we have other stuff that I've discovered is really interesting. If you look at the Senate report on torture, they don't call it torture, they call it enhanced interrogation, of course.
Yeah.
Then footnote 1898 has a list of 9 people whose photographs were shown to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, supposedly the mastermind of 9/11. And they were shown by this woman, Bukowski, who calls herself the Queen of Torture. And they were shown to him on the 23rd of March, 2003. One of them was Aafia, and then there were 8 other people. Now, of the 8 other people, 7 have been exonerated at this point, including 2 of my clients, one of whom was Uzair Paracha, another Saifullah Paracha. The 8th person was apparently taken by the establishment in Pakistan and disappeared and never been heard of again. And the 9th person is Aafia. And so they're torturing KSM. He then, identifies all these people as being big names in Al-Qaeda. So then on the 28th of March, the Americans arrest Uzair Paracha. He spends 18 years in prison before he's exonerated. On the 30th of March, they get Aafia. They get the Pakistani establishment to go nab her, and, she's sold to the Americans. So all of that we can now prove.
Okay.
And it proves beyond any doubt, how they messed up and how the Pakistanis were involved and so on and so forth. And, the thing about all of this is Ismat, who's Fawzia and Aafia's mother, before she died and before Musharraf died, forgave Musharraf, sent Fawzia to see Musharraf to personally forgive him for what he did. And, we're not out there for revenge against these people. We just want justice for Aafia.
Let's go back a little bit. You said that you've got a signed affidavit from the ISI, from an agent. What does that contain? Explain that.
Well, it explains the whole story.
Right.
And it also explains how he says that the disposal operation, the effort to try and murder Aafia, was a typical agent, thing by the ISI.
This was in Ghazni, isn't it?
Ghazni,
Okay. Right.
So he was involved in all of this. He was involved in that Blood Diamonds case because there was a case that was closely linked to that.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get access to Aafia, who he knew was in Afghanistan with the Americans.
Right.
And so basically he helps us prove one of the many things that they've been lying about, which is where was Aafia for the missing 5 years from 2003 to 2008.
So he says she was in Bagram. She was at Bagram.
He says she was in American custody, and he was trying to they had a deal with the Americans that they could get prisoners back if they needed to interrogate them about something else. He wanted to talk to her about this other issue.
Yeah.
And, he was trying to get her, and that was when the whole Ghazni thing took place.
And the 2 American agents, one from the CIA and one from, I think you said, intelligence agency.
The other is actually the U.S. Air Force intelligence. He was in Bagram at the same time as Aafia was.
And they've spoken to you.
They've given me affidavits.
And again, saying...
So the U.S. agent, the Air Force guy, was in New Orleans when I was in 2002, and he related what he knew about Aafia from then. He had a very clear memory of it.
Right.
And he's the one who tells us all the misinformation they had. He then goes on to talk about he was in Pakistan after that, and he discusses some of that.
Yeah.
And he was then in Bagram for several years, and he details some of that. So it's incredibly helpful.
Aafia at the moment is in prison in Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Right? And she's been there since
2008, really, but 2010 after her trial.
Okay. And you entered the case. You became a lawyer effectively when? It was
2023. When
2023.
When Fawzia.
So in between that period, 2008 and 2023, what was Aafia's condition?
So first you got her trial, which happened in 2010.
Yeah.
Now the problem there was the Pakistan government paid $2 million to these lawyers to represent her.
Oh, okay. The Pakistan government.
Yeah, but there's a serious issue with that.
Right.
Which is that they had a massive conflict of interest. Now, one of the things that we can now prove beyond any doubt is that the Pakistan establishment has spent the last 18 years, effectively, or really 22 years, trying to cover up their own crimes. And so they hired these lawyers, but these people are not going to do what Aafia wanted, which is tell the truth. They put on a trial, a defense at trial, where they prevented Aafia. Aafia was trying to testify about the torture, about the time she was in Bagram, about the abductions, and they prevent that because the lawyers had this massive conflict of interest because they're being paid by the very people who caused the problem. And, you know, one of the interesting things about this, which is just so wrong, is Fauzia, who is a woman, if you're ever in trouble, you want that woman as your sister. I mean, she's just amazing. But the Pakistan establishment has spent endless effort to intimidate her. They've dropped dead bodies, or it's alleged they've dropped dead bodies. I don't know. Outside her door in her house. They've posted apparently bullets to her. People have told her that if, and they said this to her mother, that if they don't back off, some of their other daughters are going to disappear. There've been attempted abductions of the children. There's been all sorts of threats. I mean, even while I've been representing her, they've taken her off with blindfolds and threatened her if I carry on doing my job.
They've taken Fauzia off.
Fauzia off.
Really?
Yeah, and look, I tell them, you want to kidnap someone, come and kidnap me. I mean, it's not Fauzia she can't stop me. And she, you know, we make this very clear. I'm representing Aafia. And much as I love Fauzia, I think she's fabulous, I can't betray Aafia because of what's going on. But, you know, this goes on and on and on. And we had this whole thing about whether Pakistan would intervene with an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, for Aafia. You know, they'd agreed to it. And we were in court, and this lovely judge in Islamabad was helping us organize it.
Yeah.
So they agreed to it. The Attorney General himself agreed to it. Then they reneged, and then the judge threatened them with contempt and all the rest of it if they wouldn't explain it. And we all know what's going on, right? They're being told what to do by their puppeteers. So then I had these lengthy discussions with the Attorney General and the Justice Minister, who are both decent people.
In Pakistan.
In Pakistan.
Yeah.
And we agreed on a different way to do the amicus brief that they were happy with. They then got apparently told they couldn't do it by the same people again. So, you know, endlessly the establishment is just thwarting what we're trying to do. But then when I went to Afghanistan just 2 weeks ago, Fauzia was going to meet me there, and we were going to go to Kandahar. There are still things I want to find out. I mean, we've got enough evidence to sink these people beyond trace, but you can never have too much. So Fauzia was going to come too. We were going to go to Kandahar, meet all the powers that be and get some more help. She then receives a call from a guy who says his name is Hayatullah, and that he's with the Haqqanis, and that he's telling her that she can't go to Afghanistan and the Afghans aren't going to help us anymore and this, that, and the other. So she lets me know that. And I say, well, you know, where did he call you from? So she calls the number back, and it's a Pakistan number of someone else she'd been talking to. Yeah. And so I say, you know, this guy's an ISI stooge, obviously. But then I talk to Anas Haqqani, who's one of the real Haqqanis, and one of the brothers. And he says, his first response is, that guy's not one of us. This is an ISI stooge. Right. So they're still making these pathetic efforts to stop Fauzia and me doing what we've got to do.
Explain that. Why? Why are the Pakistani establishment so annoyed with Fauzia? Why do they not want?
They don't want it because if there was a justice system in reality in Pakistan, they'd be under indictment. Right. You know, these people are guilty of abducting her, abducting the children, selling them to the Americans, then trying to murder them, and then trying to cover up their wrongdoing. And, you know, their crimes are endless. So, no, we're not interested in prosecuting them, but they're so paranoid, and their whole, you know, they're bullies. And their whole bully ethos is to be paranoid about, they know they've done wrong. I just wrote a piece that probably will get me abducted next time I go there about these people. You know, they need to read the Constitution. The Constitution says each of those people swore an oath as a military officer to uphold the Constitution to protect Pakistanis, and they've done exactly the opposite. And, you know, they need to stop this nonsense. They really do.
by Pakistani establishment, then can you be more specific? Who are we really talking about here?
Well, they call them the establishment.
Yeah.
It's the military and the ISI who are mixed up. And it's very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad to me about what's happening in Pakistan generally with my old friend Imran Khan, with all this other stuff. And, they're just ruining a country that I have a lot of respect for.
Right. So to get this clear, the Pakistani establishment, the Pakistani army, Asim Munir, maybe, the chiefs of the ISI, they do not want Aafia to come back home. Neither do they want her to be released to a third country.
Well, I'm not really naming names because I don't know which of these shadowy cowards it is.
Yeah.
Although I've tried very hard to meet with them. I would love to sit down and talk to them and just tell them the facts of life. I mean, first, what their duty is, but more importantly, we're not trying to get them. But on the other hand, the longer they make me work on this, the longer they try to obstruct us, actually, it's kind of cool. It really helps me. These people are so stupid. They don't get that everything they're doing now is helping me prove that the lawyers had a conflict in the first place.
Right.
Because they're proving that anyone who's representing Aafia is going to get threatened if they tell the truth. So I'm happy, if it's just me, I'm not happy they do it to Fauzia.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the longer they keep this going, if they helped us, we could get her out tomorrow. But the longer they keep this going, the more dirt I'm going to dig up on them, and it's all going to be published.
Right. Okay. So the Pakistani establishment do not want, just want this to disappear. They want you to.
They
to
want
stop
her
your
to
work.
disappear.
They want her to disappear.
They want her to die in FMC cars. Well, that's what they want.
Really? Okay. So you don't think you're going to get very much from the Pakistani establishment?
I don't care. I really don't care about them. I enjoy this thing. I think it helps us to have them doing all their silly shenanigans.
Yeah.
But, if they did their job properly, which I don't think they ever will, we could get her out very quickly. But if they're not going to do that, I don't care what they do because I can get her out. It's just a matter of doing the work.
Is Aafia still, she was seen to be the daughter of the nation. She was, Pakistanis feel deeply connected to her and emotional about what happened to her. Does that still remain in Pakistan?
Oh, it is more than that now. She is the most famous woman in Pakistan by far.
Yeah.
She's got the support of all the people effectively. It's going to get better because we're going to expose what's really going on, and there's certain rumors have gone around, but we can debunk it all now. But more than that, she's becoming a figure across the world.
Right.
And when last time I talked to you, we were doing that stuff in Washington. In like 3 weeks, we got 1.7 million signatures for her clemency. And, that was the biggest one in America at that point. It was astounding.
Wow.
I don't know how many times you've got 1.7 million for you. I've never had that.
Sadly not.
No.
What's the next step? So now we didn't get clemency for Aafia. The Pakistani authorities are really not in the frame of mind to help here. So your focus is on building a case in America itself.
And we built the case, and
Okay.
I've already sent a draft to the U.S. attorneys. I met with them about a month ago.
Okay.
And there are two things.
These are the federal attorneys.
Yeah, they're the
Okay.
federal prosecutors,
Right.
and they're decent people. They
Oh,
take
really?
their job seriously.
Okay.
And the U.S. attorney in New York went to King's College, Cambridge. My mother was admissions secretary there. So we've got, we go back a long time.
Yeah.
So we've got two different avenues. One is what's a habeas corpus. It's called the 2255 there, which is a challenge to the legality of the conviction.
Yeah.
And for various complicated reasons, I won't bore your watchers with, we can really do them on that. We can win it. And we have a great innocence claim. And the innocence claim isn't just that she didn't fire the gun. It's that if she was a kidnap victim, which we can now demonstrate beyond any doubt,
Yeah.
she could shoot who she wanted, because when you're kidnapped, you can shoot your way out. So we've got a very strong case of innocence and all sorts of other legal issues. But then the second thing, the compromise, is there's a motion for compassionate release. Because she's got the second longest sentence in U.S. history in the last 41 years, on this. And because everything the judge relied on turns out to be false because the CIA was lying to him, I think we have a very strong case for them just to say, look, she's done a total now of 22 years, which is more than most people do on those charges anyhow.
Yeah.
So just let her go. And we've got an arrangement with a foreign country that I won't say who have agreed to take her. We'll fund it ourselves. We'll give her the treatment she needs. And then it can all go away. And the advantage of that is no one actually has to admit they got it wrong.
Yeah.
They can just say we're being compassionate. So I think we'll achieve that. You know, the American system grinds slowly. So, but I'm going to file the actual one in court in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get her out next year.
Really, next year?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. I mean, the American system, of course, is a very heavily politicized system, and is there an appetite within this administration, within the Department of Pam Bondi, within the Trump administration, to really do something about her?
Well, I'd like to think we'll get the U.S. attorneys on side.
Really?
But we don't need them,
Right.
because we've got a federal judge.
Okay.
And the federal judge is a Democrat appointment. He's an elderly Jewish guy,
Yeah.
reasonable fellow. And I think he's going to be angry at what he was falsely told. And it's no one, we don't get to blame anyone because the prosecutors didn't know,
Yeah.
the judge didn't know, they're all innocent. So in the end, we can do all of this in a collegiate way. And, I think we can get to where we need to get to, but we'll have to see. I mean, I've been wrong before on that, so I hope I'm not wrong this time.
Okay. I mean, it's good news if we say next year, possibly,
Yeah, I think
Aafia will be released. That's great. Do we know anything about Aafia's son, Suleiman, who went missing on the day of her abduction?
Well, I'm going to read you something I just came across in our files. I've been doing lots of stuff while I've been away. And this is really just very sad. I came across a poem she wrote in Urdu.
Yeah.
You'll have to do the Urdu bit, but I'll do the...
Urdu's terrible, so you
Okay, I will do it in English then. And the first 3 lines are these. You have snatched my young children from their mother. One you killed, the others you took away from me. For what crime did you kill a 6-month-old baby? That's a poem she was writing. And that's just so sad. Now, when I first got involved in this, I thought, poor Suleiman's dead, right? It's sort of like the Maddie McCann case here in Britain. Almost certainly it must be that poor Maddie is dead. And it's a very difficult question, and I'd be interested in what your listeners and watchers think. But you got 2 choices after 22 years. Would you rather know your child was dead and be able to grieve and come to some sort of, not ever resolution, but at least try to deal with it? Or would you like to cling to that little hope that he's still alive? Which would you go for?
I suppose a second, right?
Well, I find it's about 50-50,
really?
Interestingly.
Yeah.
More men go for the hope, actually, surprisingly, in my experience. But, I thought they're just a bit naive if they think this poor child's still alive, until I learned all the other stuff, that they really did put Mariam in forcible adoption and only got her back because the Afghans forced them to. Otherwise, Mariam would still be gone. Yeah. So...
And the Afghans did that. This was during the American occupation?
Yeah, this was in 2010.
Right.
And it was because Fawzia met with Hamid Karzai in Islamabad, told them the whole sad story. Yeah. And it touched him. And he went back and told the Americans, you've got to turn this girl over.
Right. I mean, there's not very many people who can say positive things about Hamid Karzai.
No,
so that's really
well, I
amazing.
met him the other day, and I don't have a lot of positive things to say about him myself, I'm afraid. But he did that good thing, and for that I'm grateful to him. And so when you learn the details of that, you think, well, maybe, Suleiman, it's not easy to just kill a child, right? And so maybe Suleiman was forcibly adopted too, and, he's in Baltimore or something. So what we've done is that we've done AI pictures of him, And you can go through them, and I'll show them to you, but I don't know if people will see these terribly well, but we can get close-ups of them.
Yeah.
And so that's what he would look like if, a year or two after he was abducted. That's when he's about 8. That's when he's about 14. That's when he's 18. And that's what he'd look like today.
Right.
So what we're going to do is run a campaign across America, hopefully with some celebrity support, where we say with this, and also with a lot of Afghan children, because I was shocked to discover when I was researching this, that in the last year of the American occupation, 1,450 Afghan children were taken to America with very dubious legality. Right. So if we run all of this, and we're going to hold a conference, I hope, in Kabul, where we get all the families to come forward who are missing children, because they can't get their kids back, right? I mean, they don't have the money to do that. So we can do it for them. And that way we can run this as a project. And some children in America who are adopted and don't know their biological parents, if they want to find out, they can come forward, and then we'll see if we can't match them. And I hope perhaps we'll find Suleiman, and that would be wonderful. And if we don't, that's very sad. But maybe one day the authorities will have the courage to be honest about it.
Suleiman could be living with a family in America at this moment, and he may be alive, and we just don't know.
We don't know. Right. And you can't, when you think about the McCanns, they've struggled for so long, and I feel for them so much.
Yeah.
But, if it was me as a parent, I'd be doing the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
And so we can't just leave them in. I think it's just torture to Aafia to tell her that she's just got to take our word for it, that, you can't have him back. That's just wrong.
And how are Aafia's other children, Ahmed and Mariam?
Well, look, I see them every time I go to Pakistan, and they're still incredibly traumatized. And they're not just traumatized by what they went through. They're traumatized by the fact that they've been told if they speak out on this, it'll bring trouble. They've seen the dead bodies outside the house that have been dumped there. I mean, honestly, I think the people who do that have no shame, and it's disgusting. And I always view my job as, I don't like bullies. And sometimes I think the only thing bullies understand is being bullied back. And, I'm very privileged, and I can do those sorts of things. And it just pisses me off that the authorities are doing that to these children still.
Right. So it's a question I ask you all the time, but what can we do? Like, where do you need help?
Good. Yes, I can exploit all of you, don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, seriously, there's no person who doesn't have a talent that can be put to use. One of the things I really would like help on is I want interventions in front of this judge from people. Aafia's treatment in Carswell is horrible. We haven't been allowed to get an independent doctor in to see her. We haven't been allowed to get an imam in to see her. Omar Suleiman, who many people know, love the guy. He's really a decent fellow. And he lives there, and he's willing to go see her, and he would be wonderful for her. And they won't let him in, and they won't say why. So one of the things I want to do for the judge in New York is have an intervention from both doctors and imams separately, and what's called an amicus brief, where they intervene and they say, we're just a bit shocked that the prison won't let people in. And I want as many imams to join that, and as many doctors or nurses or medical professionals to join us, all of whom they just have to sign off on a brief that'll be filed, won't cost them anything, that just says, let this poor woman have health care, let her have spiritual solace. Yeah. So anyone who either is a medical professional or, a spiritual person, imam of some sort, or who can help us get those people signed up would be really helpful. Right. Now, beyond that, there's lots of other, talents that people have. I'd love some help with our Searching for Suleiman project. Okay. Someone to manage that project, someone who knows how to do AI reconstructions properly, all those sorts of things. And then there might be some young person out there, because let's face it, I'm about to insult you because you're not as old as me. I'm old and grey and full of sleep.
Yeah.
That some young people have some great idea involving modern technology that I seriously don't understand.
Yeah.
That we can do that'll magnify this. We're in the middle of doing a 2-part Al Jazeera
Oh, really?
program on it.
Okay.
They've been with me to Afghanistan, not this time, the time before. And, you know, they're into doing a podcast. They really love the Searching for Suleiman project. So, you know, we use that to magnify all of this and to change the narrative from some of the nonsense into positive things. And then what people can also do, because people always think they can do nothing, but they can, is they can still write to Aafia, and whatever you do, don't say you pity her. Say you're inspired by her. You send the letters to me through lettersforafia@gmail.com. And, you know, I can send them in as legal mail to her, and that helps her survive in the nightmare that is Carswell. So, you know, and if people have other ideas, you're welcome to put my email out there,
Okay.
Which is Clive Stafford Smith 2020@gmail.com. And you can send me all the things that you want to help on. And you can always donate to the Aafia Movement Fund, because this is expensive. This trip to Afghanistan was £8,000 or £9,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And how can we donate to?
Well, I can give
You
you
can
the
send me the
Aafia-
link, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you that.
Okay, fantastic. So we can, we'll get our viewers to write letters, to continue to write letters. I mean, I think the first time we did that, she got a fair number of letters.
Yeah, and it was good.
Yeah.
And you know what? She gets them, and they're encouraging her. And then when she's being abused in that prison, she takes your letters and reads them out to the abusers. And now that's cool. So I'm really pleased for that.
Okay. So the Searching for Suleiman, it seems like there must be some talented creatives out there in America
Yeah.
who are able to.
And they don't have to be in America. They can do it from here. But we do need some people, celebrity types, who know about this sort of thing. We need people who know about, you know, forcible adoptions, who can help us with the whole Afghan end of it,
Yeah.
and so forth. Yeah.
Right. So we just really need as much help as possible from people who will be able to keep this alive. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I think from our side, you know, we would like to help you as much as possible. And I know you don't want to hear this, but it's wonderful what you're doing live for Aafia.
Oh, I love doing it.
It really is. You know, I feel that I don't know. Sometimes I feel that we haven't done enough for Aafia, and you know, I'm glad that we've got someone like you that's
Coming along to bully you into doing more.
You haven't got your Casio watch on today.
No, it's in my jacket pocket because you know the problem with Casios is that I break them about every 7 months. I break them, and it just happened to me 2 days ago, and I've got to get a new strap.
Is there anything
also,
else?
Perhaps I'm not planning to build a bomb. You know,
Yeah, that's right. That's a link. I mean, for
This
those,
is it,
let's
yes.
keep that as a cliffhanger for those who want to know the rationale behind the connection behind Casios and bombs. They need to watch a previous show.
They do, don't they?
They do need to watch that, right? So, okay. Apart from that, so we need to galvanize the community, the Muslim community. I would imagine in America would be very helpful here.
We want everyone to.
And everyone, yeah. Clive Stafford Smith, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Please remember to subscribe to our social media and YouTube channels, and head over to our website thinkingmuslim.com to sign up to my weekly newsletter. Jazakallah khair.